All right. Well, hi everybody. It is Leah with the Biblical Homestead. I almost said Family Heritage Living. Oh my goodness. All right, so I'm just going to start rolling some B-roll that I've shot this week as I talk a little bit. Later at the end of this video, I'm making some momster cookies, as my family calls them, and I'll be putting the recipe below, but and just visiting. So if you're in a hurry and you want to get to a monster cookie recipe, I would recommend you go find another channel. But if you're here and just want to chat, maybe hear a peaceful word of homemaking and encouragement, today's that day because I feel chatty. And this is actually my second time trying to make this video. Earlier, I've been struggling, and I'll just be honest. I've been struggling with making videos, not because I don't want to make them, and not because I don't have something to say, but honestly because I have too much to say. And as I've aged, I've grown to be a little more cautious than just jumping out there. So I can't tell you how many times in the past year I've wanted to get political and encourage Christians to be focused on Christian values. But I haven't, because honestly, I felt that hasn't been the right move. It's not where I want the channel to go. I don't want to be political. I want to be Christ-focused. And so even though I do follow politics and I have very strong opinions, I hope that my desire is to move people through Christ, and that they will clearly find clear direction that He gives for us in our political views, in our culture. Because really, you know what? Politics change. Right, left, center, it doesn't matter. It's going to keep changing. But the one thing that doesn't change is Christ. So, with that said, I'm glad that I had refrained from that this past year. And I think that has also made me hesitate to speak too much more about too many things. Spending some time today doing some work. I was making some bread first thing this morning. I have a week's worth of eggs to wash today. I usually do it once a week. Zebulon, he's my bird man, and he does wonderful care of the chickens, so he usually keeps the eggs pretty clean. They don't need too much of a washing, but I do send all of them through the wash water, and we go through them so quick. We go through about 30 dozen eggs a month. So I have no need to leave the bloom on them and to preserve them. For you, those of you that don't know, we are a dry cabin. We have to haul our water in, and we haul our water in from the community well in 5-gallon buckets. And this is my faucet. It's my pitcher, and all my water goes through it. We're at one point to get used for water during the day, cooking, whatever. So it's an artesian well that we get our water from. We do have a Berkey for drinking water, but half the time we don't even use it anymore just because we know that the well water is clean. So, all right, so back to the conversation. You'll also see me. My first conversation, the first video I did today for the voiceover was I was just wanting to encourage in homemaking. It seems to be my theme. It's what I do a lot in my videos. But I kind of shifted gears the second time around and thought I would just read you if you're interested. I used to do a lot of the reading out of old stories, out of old magazines, and I haven't done that for a while. But this is just a writing about a November day in the life of a homemaker, and I hope you enjoy it. The sun was hardly up when I stepped out onto the porch this morning, the November air sharp enough to pink my cheeks. The woods beyond the garden stood quiet as a chapel, and the last leaves drifting down like soft, rusted-colored feathers. There is something about November that hushes a woman's spirit, as though the earth itself is preparing to rest. Inside, the wood stove was already doing its faithful work, the kind of steady heat only good hard wood can give. I opened the draft to coax a bit more of the fire to life, then set the coffee pot near the back of it so it would heat up slowly. There is comfort in the sound of a stove waking up, the settling iron, the soft crackle of kindling, the warm pushing back of the morning chill. My children are all grown now. The house is quieter than it used to be. Some days I miss the thundering of small boots across the floorboards or a cheerful chaos of lessons and chores. But there is sweetness in this season, too. A gentle stillness the Lord seems to give a woman after many years of tending and toiling. I swept the kitchen floor, though there was hardly anything to sweep. Old habits stay with you, even when the young feet that once carried crumbs across the house have gone off to build homes of their own. As I worked, I thought of them and prayed over each one, the sweeping turning into a kind of worship. By mid-morning the sun had reached across the fields. Thin, but bright, I stepped outside to fetch an armful of wood. The air smelled of leaf, mold, and pine, that clean November scent that always brings back memories. I suppose every season holds those memories of the ones that loved us, made us into who we are. Dinner was simple, leftover roast warmed on the stove, a bit of bread, and sliced apple after the last crate stored in the cellar. Outside, a red squirrel chattered indignantly at something only he understood. I smiled and thanked the Lord for the quiet companionship of small creatures. As the afternoon settled in, I took my mending basket to the rocking chair near the window. The light slanted in low and gold, and the kind of light that makes even the plainest moment feel like a memory. I patched an apron pocket, hemmed a towel, and let my thoughts wander. A woman's hands never truly retire. They simply find gentler tasks. Later, as dusk crept over the woods, I stepped outside one more time. The sky was brushed in lavender and silver. A single star shone above the tree line, steady and bright. I felt a familiar peace, the deep, settled kind that only comes when a woman has walked many seasons and found the Lord faithful in every one. Tonight the house will be quiet again. A kettle will hiss softly on the back of the stove, and I will read a few pages by lamplight before bed. But my heart is full. November has a way of reminding a woman that life's goodness is not measured by noise or bustle, but by the warmth of a home, the strength of simple duties, and the gentle nearness of God. Blessed be the Lord, who daily loadeth us with benefits. Psalm 68:9. And so ends another November day in this homestead life, unhurried, unremarkable to the world perhaps, yet precious to me. I hope you enjoyed that. So I get that writing actually brings me to the conversation in the previous effort to do a voiceover, which was just being thankful. You know, we have things so easy in our culture that, and it's by design, it doesn't, this gets complicated. Or is it complicated? We have it too easy. And then, this isn't to say, because I've been accused by some before too, that I've been trying to say that there is righteousness in poverty. And that is not by any means true. But nor do I subscribe to the philosophy that financially, if we are right with the Lord, we will be abundantly blessed. That is a damnable theology, and one that has proven to be a certain type of death to our culture and to the churches. So, you know, the Bible has a lot of examples of both righteous people that were financially struggling and righteous people that were financially well off. So I think that it just depends on what God has in store for you and your personality and what God is trying to accomplish. But I do think that our culture has missed out on true character building. I think everybody should experience a certain amount of hardship financially. I don't mean, by no means do I mean homelessness or hunger, because that's not what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about, when you're not sure how those bills are going to get paid, and so you call a family meeting to pray together, to seek the Lord that He would create an opportunity to meet those needs. That maybe the dinner plates aren't much more than mashed potatoes and a vegetable, but you focus on what is on your plate instead of what's not, and you teach your children a valuable lesson, and you teach yourself that joyfulness is much better than ungratefulness. It builds character, and ungratefulness builds character too, just not the kind of character that brings peace to a home. So I've been looking at, we've talked about this a little bit before, about like the trad wife phenomenon going on, but it's not built upon the precepts and principles of God. It's built on a lot of exterior focus, and when hard times come, unfortunately, that type of foundation is going to crumble. We need to realize that our blessings are every day. When we can get up out of bed and put both feet on the floor, that's a blessing. When maybe we only have enough money to pay part of a bill, that's a blessing. When we have enough, groceries that we're cooking it, but maybe it's not what we want, that's a blessing. Satan wants to rob our gratitude from us. If he can keep us discontented, if he can keep us always wanting more, then he has victory. And we have stolen from us, we have allowed him to take from us joy that God is willing to give to us by, well, not just enduring, but by embracing what the Lord has going on in our lives. I know sometimes that's easier said than done, but that's why we're told to bring, our thoughts into captivity in the Word of God. That's why we're told, that we are to be disciplined and trained. And a lot of our thoughts, our positive thoughts, come through training. And we're not talking, just name it and claim it or a positive way of thinking. I'm talking about real godly thankfulness, and a change or a positive attitude comes through reminding ourselves how blessed we really are by serving the Lord, by having a home. Satan would give us shame for things that we have. No matter how good the things we are that we have, he would want us to be ashamed of them, always wanting more. When God tells us to be content with the provisions that he's given to us. And so I just really, that was pretty much what the first round was just to encourage. I feel so blessed, and because of that, I want to encourage you to count your blessings. They are numerous if we'll just clean out our minds and not give Satan a toehold to the Lord's provisions. So this is the monster cookies. I call them monster cookies because years ago, the only recipe I could find for a monster cookie, it was really funky. It was like 3 or 4 different ingredients, and that was it. And the premise of it, I got the premise of it, but I thought surely there's got to be more to it. So I came up with a recipe, mixing that recipe and, just a couple other cookies together. We really liked it. The kids really liked it. So instead of monster, they called it momster. But that's been years ago. That was probably before my last 2 were born, and before the internet was, everywhere we turned, so you could look up whatever you wanted. So I looked up monster cookies the other day, and apparently a lot of other women felt the same way that I did, because the recipes are pretty similar to what I came up with and then what I saw on the internet. But this is basically, I'm not going to give you the instructs here as I go. It's just a regular basic peanut butter or cookie. So you're going to whip your butter and your sugar and your eggs together, and then you'll get everything else in there and you cook it up. But I'll put the recipe below. It calls for softened butter, granulated sugar, brown sugar, and peanut butter. I think there's baking soda in it, oatmeal, flour, and chocolate chips. And if you have them, like an M&M style candy, I don't have those today or the day I made this, so I used chocolate chunks. I had those instead of chocolate chips, so I put a lot of those in. Really good cookie if you let it sit overnight. You guys know how my baked goods, I like to let it sit overnight. It just helps the flavor. And really good dunking cookie if you like to dunk cookies in your coffee. Super good. But it's also good just eating the cookie. Now, obviously, like any cookie, overbake it, it's going to be a little bit drier, crumblier. You know, find that sweet spot if you like the chewy cookies. Whenever I overbake any, the kids just yell, "Dunkers!" So, all right. Well, I'm going to sign off here. I've prattled on long enough. And I pray you all have a wonderful and blessed Thanksgiving. That if you're with family, that you treasure them. If you are spending it alone, take a minute and spend a little time with the Lord, even if you don't know Him, even if you've never thought about it. He's there. He's just waiting for us to spend a little time. Life with Him is so much sweeter than life without Him. And I just would encourage you, if you've never considered the Lord, maybe it's time now. And a lot of people wonder, well, how do I do that? The first thing is to start just by seeking Him. Lord, just simply ask Him to guide you to know more about Him. And I promise He will do that. So, all right. Well, you all take care. And we will talk to you soon. Happy Thanksgiving and God bless.